for many of us. Now, I raise this first of all because some of you know that I'm an ambassador for cricket. I'm a great advocate of seeing English cricket returning to Pakistan. And recently I had to speak out and have an uncomfortable conversation myself about a wrong decision of the England cricket team in touring. And I learned that when I speak out about issues relating to Afghanistan, to girls' education, to climate change, it doesn't attract nearly as much attention as when I speak out on cricket. But the real point is that something else has been happening recently on cricket that I think really brings out why uncomfortable conversations are so important. And there is a man called Azeem Rafiq, who is a cricketer of Pakistani heritage who has played for Yorkshire and has recently caused a very, very important conversation in the UK about racism in British sport and in cricket. And Azeem had the courage to speak out about systemic racism that has affected him in his career, and I think is a very good example of how, if we are to build back better from the very difficult past 2 years of the pandemic, if we are to ensure dignity and freedom of voice for all, it needs us to be able to have uncomfortable conversations that include freedom of speech, freedom of thought, freedom of information, freedom of religion, freedom of association, and the freedom of the press. And we need to reaffirm our unwavering commitments to the core values and principles set out in the Constitution of Pakistan. And as of my esteemed colleagues have already said, that is in key part a role of the Chief Justice and the judiciary here with us on the panel. As Pakistan reaches 75 years anniversary of the country, it's having the right conversations, those uncomfortable conversations like the ones today, that are crucial to building back better. Now, for the UK, promoting democracy and defending democratic freedoms are fundamental to our foreign development and international policy. We believe that strong democratic institutions and accountable governments which uphold universal rights and the rule of law are key building blocks for secure and prosperous states. And there are three specific issues I'd like to quickly run through, which are going to be part of this conference, part of the discussions in the next 2 days. The first is gender and the dignity of equality of gender. The UK is unwavering in its commitments to gender equality and women and girls' rights, particularly given that COVID-19, the pandemic, has exacerbated existing inequalities and disproportionately impacted the lives of women and girls across the world. No country will prosper if the potential of half its population is not harnessed. The World Economic Forum's 2021 Global Gender Index ranked Pakistan 153 out of 156 countries on this issue. So improved representation of women in Parliament, in courts, as the Canadian High Commissioner has just said, in schools, these are key to setting strong benchmarks on the participation of women in the decision-making structures. And let me mention, as I'm prepared to have uncomfortable conversations, ladies and gentlemen, that on this panel, beyond the organisers and my two wonderful colleagues, Andrula and Wendy, I think there are too many men in suits talking to you. So we must call out the manels. Thank you, Andrula. Ladies, you're allowed to applause at this point. I say this as a husband, as a son, as a father to women, and I think more women representation is very important in these events. The second area is freedom of religion and freedom of belief. A visit for those of us who are not, well, for everyone in this town, to the Lahore Museum shows a visitor that Pakistan's rich today. In this context, we must condemn continued attacks on minorities, their places of worship, which is unacceptable. And the judiciary's actions to counter violations of minority rights is commendable, particularly the 2014 Supreme Court judgment, which constituted a commission for minorities, and the empowerment of that National Commission for Minorities and ensuring it is enshrined in law is now a key task. I'd like to appreciate the work of Dr. Shoaib Sadal through the one-man commission on minority rights, including improving the response to attacks against minorities and their places of worship. And I'd also like to mention forced conversions, and steps taken towards more progressive laws and robust protection measures to hold those responsible accountable. I hope that legislation criminalising forced conversion is finalised to ensure children and young people are protected. Third and finally, ladies and gentlemen, is media freedom. And free voice is essential. People must be able to discuss and debate issues freely, to challenge their governments and to make informed choices supported by access to information provided by a strong, robust and independent media. Dissent is a sign of weakness. Dissent is a sign of strength, not a sign of weakness. A sign of strength, not a sign of weakness. The UK has long supported media freedoms, both at home and abroad, and our Global Media Freedom Coalition, run with the Canadian government, was launched in 2018 and demonstrates, I hope, a new wave of action on this. As you've heard, Pakistan ranks 145 out of 180 countries in the 2021 World Press Freedom Index. And that is why the approval this week of the Journalist Protection Bill is so welcome, and we look forward to its passage into law, its full enforcement in the spirit of that law. Equally, societies across the world are struggling to define regulation of media in the digital age, and we shouldn't shy away from debate about how the media can be properly regulated whilst protecting and upholding the freedom of expression. So in this, the UK is ek saath with the people of Pakistan, and it's not about words and speeches, it's about action. In the interest of time, I won't give you a full list, but the UK in Pakistan, my High Commission, is doing a range of things. We're supporting minority children to attend school, we're supporting the establishment of community forums, we're investing in improved protection of women and girls in gender-based violence, we have helped set up child courts, we're training minority journalists, and I'm pleased to say that our flagship Chevening scholarships 7 years ago had only 6% of Chevening scholars as women, and that is now 60%. From 6% to 60% women as Chevening scholars, and we now award, the top Pakistani female candidate the ASMA Jahangir Award each year, and last year in a tie, 2 Chevenings got the ASMA Jahangir Award. So in conclusion, to bring me back to uncomfortable conversations, this is not something you generally associate with diplomats. There is a famous definition of a diplomat, that is someone who tells you to go to hell in such a way that you want to ask for directions. Now, I hope I don't always conform to this, but my point is that on these issues, we have to be prepared to speak truth to power and to have those conversations. Ladies and gentlemen, the partnership, as you know, I care about it deeply between the UK and Pakistan. This is a country that I love living and being in, and our partnership is historic and deep. We're walking this journey in belief and understanding, with a view of dignity and voice for all Pakistanis. What unites us is far greater than what divides us. We have a long history, but we should look to the future. Being ek saath in our aaj, in our kal, will create a better and more equal world for all with dignity. Pakistan ki kamyabi insani haqooq bahut ahem hai. Thank you very much. Bahut shukriya.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Turner, for sharing your heart.